And we are live for Ask a Realtor, episode 15. We're talking about solar power tonight, and while people are getting logged in, I'm just gonna jam for you because we always have a little bit of music at the beginning. But let's have some fun with it this time, Realtor musician style. Awesome. That's how we're kicking it off tonight. What's going on, folks? Joe, Colorado Joe, the Realtor musician, here live on YouTube. Let's get into it. Sweet. We're going to talk a little bit about solar energy, solar power as it pertains to real estate transactions, including leased systems, owned systems, what that means if you're buying a property with leased versus owned, as well as what sort of a value you can anticipate for that system to provide to you. Let's get into it. If you got something to throw in to the chat as far as any questions and or stories go pertaining to any of these topics or just anything real estate related, buying a home, selling a home, what it's like being a realtor, what have you, drop it in the chat box. I'm going to kick off the chats here and say, what's good, my people? Bam. Awesome. Maurice, what up? What's going on, man? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it, man. I hope that you get some good impact out of this one. And yeah, let's dive in here and get cracking. So sweet. Basics of the residential solar system. You got solar panels. That's basically your power plant there. There's micro inverters that convert the DC energy that it was basically like what you have in your car, and convert it to AC, which is then usable in the household. And the goal there is to get to net zero to where you're providing all the energy that you need to use, all the electricity that you need. If you have an underpowered system, it might just be an offset. So you might still have a utility bill, you might still have an electric bill to pay, but it would be reduced. Whereas if you have an overpowered system, then you might be producing more than you use in the household. And by the way, what one family uses in that same household, say it's a 4-bedroom home, and you have let's say you have a household of 4 or 5 people in there, and then they sell it to a household of just 2 people. That the energy use there is going to be different. So the energy bills for that family A versus family B are going to be different. So that's something to consider there as well. For them, they might have been just breaking even with the 5-person household. 2-person household, they might be overproducing. That system was built for the 5-person household, so keep that in mind. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Basically, what you can do is sell that back to the utility company for a credit. And what you're going to do then is in the months where you're using more electricity, say those winter months, you've got a higher use there. Less light means you're turning on the light switch earlier. You know, turning on at like 4 o'clock, or it's getting dark like quarter to four. Versus these summer months, it's, you know, not getting dark till 9 o'clock. That's a consideration there. So, you know, you might be storing up those credits, and then dipping into those credits in the winter months when you need them. So sweet. Question from Maurice. I had a coworker ask me today, what does it mean now that rates are going up 5% and higher? Let's dive into that. That's a great question there. So the question I'd have for your coworker is, are they looking to buy a house? Are they looking to sell? Are they looking to do both? Because that answer affects buyers and sellers a little differently. What it means is that buyers' purchasing power is going down. So for that same priced home that they could buy at 4%, and now it's 5% interest rate, that means that the monthly payment is going to be higher for the same priced home. Um, and that's pricing some people out. I will say that if they were kind of on the cusp of being able to afford a home at 4%, now they definitely can't afford it at 5. Um, I would say if they're looking at a home that they can barely afford at 4%, though, or 5%, any percentage doesn't matter. If they're looking at the home right at the top that they can barely afford, I would caution them on pulling that trigger. Um, it might be better for them to look at a cheaper, more affordable home where they have room, because it's not just rates that could go up, but consider that over time, what are some other parts of their payment? Okay, principal and interest. Those will be locked in at their purchase price, right? Unless they do an adjustable mortgage rate, their rate will be locked in. So those we can count on being fixed. But what are some things that we can't control that can go up? The other parts of the payment will be taxes and insurance, and those do adjust. In fact, most mortgages will do what's called an escrow analysis twice a year, where the they're looking at how much they're putting into your escrow account to pay your taxes and insurance, and they're saying, are we doing enough here? Because if not, we need to adjust that. So your payment, even though you're not an adjustable mortgage rate, your payment is not fixed every single month. It could actually rise, and there's twice a year typically that could take place. So that's another reason to not buy right at the max, and if it goes any up any, then you're screwed. Because if the you know your rate's going to be locked in, so you'll be fine there. But your escrow analysis, consider that if that goes up and you don't get a raise at work, not to mention inflation, cost of living, cost of groceries, cost of gas, all that good stuff. So definitely want to make sure you leave some room in there to afford your mortgage payments. And a good lender is going to look at that in the underwriting and the loan application process, and make sure they're setting you up for failure, and not setting you up for you know setting you up for success and not for failure, right? So long story short, yeah, rates going up are affecting buyers. They're squeezing them because home prices are high. Now rates are going up, which means that the payments on that same priced home are going up as well. Yeah, what does it mean for sellers? Well, so far, not a lot. I will say that. Um, in my personal experience, I have not seen enough buyers drop off to the point where sellers are having difficulty selling their properties. As long as they're pricing them correctly up front, sellers are still able to get quite a bit of demand for their properties, and it's just because of that it's still the same supply and demand overall. Now, as rates continue to rise, I expect that to start to at least soften. Maybe instead of 10, 12 offers on a home, we'll see 4 or 5. Maybe instead of 100,000 over asking price on a home, we'll see 40 or 50 over asking on that same home. Um, that would be my expectation as rates continue to rise, but obviously no one has that crystal ball to know exactly where the market's going to go. That's just my perspective that I want to share with you. So I appreciate you throwing that question out there, Maurice. Right on. Thank you. And my man, yeah, good topic and info. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you tuning in and checking it out. And we got 2 thumbs up on the video. Yes, I got 2 thumbs up right here for y'all. Thank you. Sweet. So, that was a good sidebar. I love those. Let's roll back into solar here. But if you have more sidebars, throw them at me. Let's get it. Sweet. So, there's also systems like the Tesla Powerwall that allow you the ability to actually store that energy on site. Pros and cons there for sure. Those batteries are known to, if they catch fire, it's very difficult to put out because of the chemicals that are in them. And that's the last thing you want is a fire that you can't put out right next to / on your property. So, pros and cons. And I'm not saying that they're prone to catch fire, but the ones that have caught fire, that's been an industry observation there, though, and it's something to consider if you're looking at putting that system in, right? There's other solar providers, solar systems. If you're considering putting solar on it, I've got some great recommendations for you. So contact me after this, leave it in the chat, what have you. But yeah, we're gonna keep rocking and rolling here. Basically, when you're looking at a home that has solar on it, the question is, does the owner own that panel outright, or are they making payments on it, or do they not own it at all and it's a leased system? Because that impacts you, the potential buyer. For example, I sold a home, or rather, I should say, I almost sold a home a couple of years ago in the Springs. I actually sold the home to these folks, and then they, about a year later, they contact me and they say, okay, we would like to sell it now. Last Long and short of it was there was a lost income, lost job. It was no longer affordable for them. They were in a pre-foreclosure situation. So it was, we looked at their options there to, talk first. I like to talk to my sellers about, if you could stay in the home, what does that look like? How can we make that happen for you? If you sell the home, what does that look like? And give them all the information so that they can decide. I'm not just walking in there saying, oh yeah, we're going to sell this and get you this money, and that's that's going to be the best thing for you. Not necessarily. How dare I make that decision for you? Let's talk about all your options, and then you make the decision once you have all the information. That's how I always approach my business there. And that was one of the topics we talked about was, okay, can you go back to your loan provider and get a loan modification and maybe get these payments lowered, maybe skip a few payments while you get back on your feet. And we explored that avenue, and it wasn't going to be that in their best interest. They really wanted to just sell, get their money, and move on. And having been in there only a year, there wasn't a ton of equity available to them. They also used a down payment assistance program to buy the house that needed to be repaid upon selling or refinance. There are certain programs that are that's forgivable, certain programs that's a grant. The particular one that they went with when they purchased the home, and this, everything was above board and explained to them. They signed off on all of it. It was a what's called a silent second mortgage. So basically, $11,000 down payment that they didn't make payments on, that didn't accrue any interest, but still needed to be paid off. So that was kind of eating up some of the proceeds there. And then to top it off, they spent $20,000 on a solar panel that they put on there that they were making payments on. And the company that they went with was no longer in business by the time that I even found out about this and tried to find out what their options were, because they were like, well, oh, we didn't know that was how that was going to go down. We want to give the panels back. Like we want to get rid of that. Is one of these fly by night companies that don't stick around too long. So that's my other point. Cautionary tale is who you use to put your panels on matters. You want to have a good company with a good reputation that's going to be sticking around, honoring warranties that they put on that system for you if anything were to break in the future. Not one of these like storm chasing companies, fly by night, close their doors, carnival style. They take off out of town before everyone finds out that the roller coaster was killing people, and who to go after. That's a crazy metaphor there, but you get my point, right? Pick a good company that's going to stand behind their product and their service. So yes, long and short of it was, between that, their second mortgage, the panel, there was no money for them. So it was better for them to get creative, get roommates to be able to make those payments and stay in the home. They did not end up selling it after we kind of went through the whole process for them. So lesson learned there. That was a good learning experience for me on the realtor side too, to really just dive in and find out what, also, if they had contacted me when they were thinking of putting those panels on there, I think that I could have done a better job for them on pointing them in the right direction of someone good that was going to take care of them and not screw them over, kind of like what happened there. So cautionary tale. But basically how we work it when we are looking at a home that has solar panels on it and figuring out from an appraisal standpoint of what value to assign to those panels. I got to give a shout out to my man, Zach Stark, over at Colorado Roofing and Solar, for putting this together. He put together this solar calculator. So the first thing that we do is we figure out the system size. And if you want a copy of the solar calculator, by the way, let me know. Leave me a comment and I'll make sure you get a copy of it. I have a Google spreadsheet, Google sheet that I can share with you on that one. Cool. So step one, system size. And we're figuring out the size in watts and or kilowatts, kilowatt being 1,000 watts. So system size, and then if it's like 8 kilowatt, then we're multiplying it by 1,000, so 8,000 watt, and then multiply it by the average production percentage. Average production percentage. Most systems are guaranteed to produce at 80 to 100% capacity. So if you don't know what that looks like for that system or where to find that information, your best bet is to just be conservative and use 80%. So you multiply that, that if I were using that to 8,000 watt, multiply it by 0.8. That's your going to give you the total stored watts in the system when new. Okay, so that's the first calculation on the calculator. Then number of production years left in the system. How we figure that out is most systems are guaranteed for 30 years, guaranteed to produce for 30 years. Not saying that they don't produce after 30. There are definitely older systems that I've seen produce over 40 years. But they, the manufacturer, the installer, they're only going to guarantee them for 30, because after that, it's, their use can drop off dramatically. Not saying that it does. Again, system maintenance and, you know, weather factors all play a role. Who manufactured it, how good the product it is, all plays a role there. But we're going to take 30 and we're going to subtract the age of the system from 30. You got a 5-year-old system, we're subtracting that from 30, and we're saying, okay, we've got 25 production years left in the system. And we're multiplying that times what our last calculation, the total stored watts in the system when new, and we're multiplying it by how many years we got left. So 25 years there as the example, and that's going to give us the total stored watts left in the system, right? Then one more calculation here to arrive at our value. We're multiplying it by the price of a kilowatt with the local utility. So we're reaching out to Excel Energy. We're reaching out to Black Hills Energy. We're reaching out to IREA, or if you're down in the Springs, Colorado Springs Utility. Contact your local utility and find out the price of a kilowatt. Average is about 13.31 cents. So again, if you don't know it, or if you just want a rough ballpark, you can use that. You're multiplying your previous, the total stored watts left in the system by 0.1331. Boom. That's how you arrive at your system value. That's going to spit out a dollar amount for you for that solar system on that home. So you can utilize that. That's something that the appraiser should be taking into account when they do an appraisal on the home. You as the buyer and your buyer's agent, which could be me, could be this guy. If you're looking to buy a home, get at me. I got you. And I'll do this calculator for you all day if you're looking at a home with panels, and I can let you know, okay, homes in the area that don't have panels are worth about this. This one does have panels. They're about this old, this size. Here's the price of the kilowatt with the local utility. Therefore, this system on this home is worth $21,000. And we can safely add that number to the value of that home, and it lets us know kind of where to come in at with offers there to make sure that you're not overpaying for that home either. So I hope that's really helpful to you. If you have a system and you'd like to know kind of what it's worth because you're maybe thinking about selling your home, we can use these same calculations to help you figure that out too. So, or if you're even just curious about your value, let me know. I'll be happy to do a quick 10-15 minute walk through the property with you, and then I can crunch all those numbers and send that to you just for your records. If you're thinking about selling or just want to know, either way, this is what I do. I love nerding out on real estate, and I love it when other people do the same. So I'd be happy to nerd out on some real estate with you over a cup of coffee or whatever. But I appreciate you guys tuning into the video. If you are watching live, you are epic. If not, that's cool too, because they're all recorded. You can see previous recordings on the channel. I would encourage you to subscribe, because then you'll be notified when we go live here. We do this every week, Wednesdays at 6 o'clock. Next week, we'll be talking about something else. So if you have a topic that you want me to talk about on here for next week, send that to me too. Awesome. All right, guys. Appreciate the love. Appreciate you interacting with me on the channel here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Joseph with EXP, and I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.